Through movies, through different narratives, we see that the evil is spreading all around us. Evil is rising in the land, and darkness is spreading. Light is diminishing, and we have to somehow rise up. The light has to rise up, fight this darkness, this evil, to overcome the evil. What is the reality behind this narrative? Is evil really spreading all around us? Is darkness taking over us? And can darkness take over us? And what does light has to do about this? Does light has to rise up and fight the darkness? This is what we are going to be discussing today. In the last video, we discussed how God is the fundamental reality. It's the basis of all love, truth, beauty in the world. And in the fundamental level, there is beauty, truth, and love in this world, in this universe. So then there is goodness within us. And how does the evil rise then? Evil is the ultimate separation from the goodness within. Because at the core, we are good, we are beautiful, we are full of love. But when we separate from our core reality, and then there is an effort required to get separated from it. It doesn't happen naturally. When a child is born, they are the reflection of that love and beauty. That's why they're so loving and so beautiful. And everyone wants to hold them, hug them, be with them. And then their being is so pure. But then there is an effort, whether that effort is conscious or subconscious, through society, through indoctrination by various means, conscious or unconscious, that we get separated from this goodness within. And there is a perception created that we are separate from this whole. And more we feel separate, more we feel alone, more we feel in the dark, and the darkness rises within us. Darkness can rise within the society as well. And that's why the narrative is generated or created. The darkness is rising, the evil is rising, which is really not as fundamental, although in many narratives, good is always fighting the evil. So they have to be equal. And the good has to win, or evil has to win, or evil can certainly overtake goodness in that narrative. But that's not true. Evil is and will remain only a matter of perception. When people feel it, they feel it in their bones. They feel in their lives, they feel in other people's life, they feel it in society. They experience evil. But that doesn't mean it exists on any fundamental core being level. But that also doesn't mean that we cannot experience it. We do experience evil, but we experience it when we feel separated from God, from goodness within. When we buy into a narrative, when we buy into the narrative of fear, when we buy into the narrative of that darkness does exist, we shrink. The fear makes us shrink. And in those situations, anything can happen. The darkness can take over in that case, because now we are separated and we are being given this opportunity to experience even the evil, even the darkness. And that is the beauty of this universe. Although on a fundamental level, only the goodness exists, we are still given the opportunity to experience evil. We are still given the opportunity to experience darkness, because we do have free will and we do want to experience it for several reasons, for different reasons. It does exist. This is Earth. It's a planet of duality, where everything has its counterpart, its opposite, the balancing. So we have hot, cold, left, right, man, woman, east, west, up, down, white, black. So you can keep going and going and going. There is nothing on this in this universe, on this planet Earth, which doesn't has its counterpoint. And the same thing with goodness. The way we experience goodness or good things in this life, in this universe, we can also experience bad things. The evil depends on us, whether we buy into the narrative, whether we want to experience those, whether it enhances our experience of goodness. Once you have experienced evil, once you have experienced suffering, once you have experienced pain, once you have experienced all those bad things, does that enhance? And then when you come back to the fold of goodness of or your core being, does that enhance your experience of goodness? Because that's the first time you will open your eyes and realize how fulfilled you are. Then you can truly experience, you can experience the heights of mountain only from the valleys. Then when you are in the valleys of despair, the darkness, depth, then only you can look up and look at the mountains, the heights, the peak, the sun rising, shining on them like golden light. And then only you can see, oh, how beautiful this is. But if you have always lived on the peaks, you will never know how high you have been living or how good you have everything. So it's a matter of perceiving, and it's your choice. You can experience evil, you can experience goodness, you can experience whatever you want to experience. That is your life. We design our own lives. When you're afraid, when you buy into an evil narrative, when you buy into that evil does exist, then you are fearful. And in fearfulness, you give up control of your own being. And in that space, you can delude yourself. There could be self-delusion thinking, or there could be other entities who can play tricks on you and then make you do things that you think, that sounds like evil. And that's how people really experience evil. So you have to buy into that kind of thinking. You have to live in a fear-based mode to experience evil. Evil does exist in that form, and it's very real for people who experience it. Psychic attacks are really very real for people who do experience them. But for people who do not buy into that, people who live with fundamentally within love and are not fearful of evil, will not experience evil, because they are on a different vibrational density. They are on a different vibrational plane, and evil will not be able to affect them in any way. On a more practical note, do not watch those scary movies. Do not read those scary novels. Do not buy into the fear-based evil versus evil, dark versus light philosophy. You may enjoy them. I mean, you may read about them from time to time, but do not buy into it. And do not get too much into it by reading or by subscribing to that philosophy, because it's only going to corrode your inner goodness. It's only the thought process will separate you. And it does require some effort to separate you from your own goodness. But slowly these thought processes, these philosophies will corrode your inner strength and then separate you from your own inner goodness. And then you may start buying into the fear-based philosophy. So do not open that door if you don't want to experience it. Do not read those novels. Do not watch those movies. And maybe, hopefully, you never have to think about this topic ever again. That's my wish.